Today the class is going to be Leilui Nishmat Ela Bat Chana. Redeeming. Today we're going to discuss the topic, nothing to do with the Parsha this week. We're going to be discussing redeeming captives in Jewish history. How do we approach it? What can we learn from it? And so on and so forth. So let's start. Source number 1 is in Genesis. Vayishma Avram ki nishba achiv. First time we have kidnappers in the Torah. Avram heard that Lot was captured. Vayarek et chanichav yeledei beito 18,300. And he took his army, 318 men. Vayirdof adan, and he chased the people who captured Lot until Dan. Vayichalek aleim laila, he divided on them at night. Hu ve'avadav, him and his servants. Vayakem, he hit them. Vayirdefem ad chova, he chased them until a place called Chova. Asher mismol Damascus, that is from next to Damascus. Vayashev et kol erechush, he returned all the possessions. Vegam et Lot achiv, he also took back Lot from his captives. Verechosho oshiv, and all his possessions. Vegam et anashim vetam, and the entire Sdom that was captured, he returned all those people back. Okay, this is the first time we see that Lot wasn't a Jew, but he was a family member, got captured, and Abraham went on Mesirut Nefesh to save him. Let's look at the second one. Source number 2. Vayishma Knaani Melech Arad Yoshev HaNegev. The Canaanite, the king of Arad, who was sitting in the Negev, heard Ki ba Yisrael derech ha'atarim, that the Jewish people are coming to conquer the land. Vayilachem b'Yisrael, and this is actually before conquering the land, and he fought against the Jews. Va'ish mimeno shavi, and he captured somebody. Vayidar Israel neder laHashem vayomar. Look at the response of God, of the Jewish nation. The Jewish nation vowed to God, Im naton titem et ha'am hazeh beyadi. They told God, look, if you're going to help us in the war and you're going to give us this nation in our hands, ve'echramti et arehem, I'm going to destroy them completely, not even going to take any of their possessions, not interested, just want to erase them. Vayishma Hashem b'kol Israel. Again, God listened to the Jewish prayers. Vayiten et ha'Knaani, and he gave them the Canaanite. Vayachrem etem et arehem, vayikra shem makom chorma. And we call that place chorma. Chorma, pretty much in English, the closest definition, maybe we call desolation, let's call it. They made a desolation out of the place. They flattened it. And Rashi explained to us, Va'ish mimeno shevi. It says, how many people did the Canaanite take? 1,400 people? Like in our case, he says no. Ela shifcha achat. They only took one woman. And it says it was a woman who was, she wasn't doing so well, let's put it this way, spiritually. But that doesn't matter. She was our woman, and that's what we did for. Okay. So let's understand, when somebody gets captured, what is our responsibility as Jews? So there's actually a source for it in Talmud Gittin, and it says like this: Shanu Chachamim. The sages tells us a story about the importance of redeeming slaves or redeeming people who are captured. Maaseh Rabbi Yoshua ben Hananiah. There's a story about Yoshua, the son of Hananiah. Shalach likrach gadol sheberomi. He went to a big city in Rome, and this is after the destruction of the temple. Amrulo, so the people in Rome told him, he got a rumor, Yeled echad yesh bebet ha'asurim. There's one boy in jail. That's what they told. There's a boy in jail. Vehu yafe einayim vetov ro'i. Says he is a beautiful looking young man. Ukzotav sdurot lo taltalim. And he looks very cute. He's got, taltalim, he's got curls in his hair. He's a cute little boy. Halach ve'amad al petach beit ha'asurim. So he went and he stood on the opening of the jail. He went to the opening of the jail. To do what? Amar ki'ilu leitzmo. And as he's sitting over there, he said out loud, as if he's saying it to himself. What did he say? Mi natan lemshisa Yaakov ve'Israel levezuzim. It says, who is the one who gave Yaakov, who gave the Jewish nation to be captured and to rob the entire Jewish people? Who is the one that allowed it? Yeah? It says, how did it happen that the Jewish people are getting captured? That's pretty much what he's saying. And now, so he's like talking to himself. And now, then he heard the boy answers. So the boy actually answers him. What does the boy say? ואמר את המשך הכתוב. So the boy continued the continuation of the verse. So he says, this is from Isaiah. And he says it to him, Halo Hashem. So he says, who did it? God did it. Why did God do it? Zo chatanu lo, because we sinned towards him. He destroyed the temple. We went into galus, we went into exile. Velo avu bidrachav, and the Jewish people, we didn't go in his ways. Haloch velo shamu betoroto, and we didn't listen to his commandments. That's who. It was God, and because the Jewish nation, even though there is a special nation, when you don't listen to God, this is what happens. Amar Rabbi Yoshua. So Rabbi Yoshua then continued, said, Muftechani bo, it says, because I see he's such a smart young boy, I am sure שיהיה מורה הוראה בישראל. He's going to be a big rabbi within the Jewish people. אם יתנו לו את ההזדמנות לכך. If just by anyone is going to give him the chance. שהרי כבר עתה הוא חכם כל כך, because even now as a young boy, he knows reality. He doesn't feel sorry for himself. He knows we messed up. We need to correct our mess up. ונשבע, and he took an oath, העבודה, he took an oath in the service of the temple, שאיני זז מכאן עד שאפדנו בכל ממון שקובעים עליו. It says, I'm not moving from here until I'm going to buy him for any price. Any price they're going to tell me, I'm going to pay for him. לא זז משם עד שפדו בממון הרבה. And he didn't move from over there until he redeemed it. He paid. This young boy was going to be sold as a slave. So he bought it as a slave. And he paid a lot of money for him. ואכן לא היו ימים מועטים. Obviously, after he bought him, he didn't use him as a slave. He set him free. Yeah? ואכן לא היו ימים מועטים. And in a few years later, עד שהורה הוראה בישראל, that this young boy became a great rabbi. Who is this great rabbi? ומי הוא זה? Who is that great rabbi who is this little boy? Rabbi Ishmael ben Elisha. This is Rabbi Ishmael, the son of Elisha. He is that little young boy. So first of all, we see something already. Somebody is captured, you buy him back. You are supposed to spend all the money in the world to buy him back. You know what? Just remind me, I'm going to discuss this. If we shouldn't later on. It's not the topic so much. But remind me after source number 5 to discuss it. So source number 4. In source of number 4, it is Yirmiyahu. Now Yirmiyahu, the prophet Yirmiyahu, the people, nobody likes him. Now, why does nobody like the prophet Yirmiyahu? Because he said all the bad things. He came to the Jewish people and he says, you know guys, you're not going to listen to God. You know what's going to happen? He's going to destroy all of you. He's going to destroy all of us. That's what's going to happen. Yeah? So Yirmiyahu is not a nice book to read. Throughout the Jewish people didn't like the words of Yirmiyahu. Okay? So Yirmiyahu, this is his prophecy. And he says, Vayomer Hashem Elai. And Yirmiyahu says, God said to me, Im Ya'amod Moshe v'Shmuel lefanai. He says, you know what? Even if Moshe and Shmuel, both the prophets, are going to come in front of me, and they're going to come. This is what God said. Yirmiyahu says, I heard God say that even when Moshe and Shmuel come in front of me, En nafshi el ha'am hazeh. I'm not going to have mercy on this nation. In other words, guys, you know what? This is Yirmiyahu telling the Jewish people. You know who can save you, he tells them? Even Moshe and Shmuel now can save you. That's it. You're done. You're done. Now you understand why people didn't like to listen to him. You can see the way he's talking. You know, he's pretty much telling them, guys, that's it. Your behavior, you made God so angry that even if Moshe and Shmuel come over to him, it's too late. That's what he tells them. Not too late, because it's never too late in bad prophecy, but God is mad. Let's put it this way. I'm going to send them away. It says, hey, guys, don't bother me. I'm going to say to Moshe, even though I love him. I'm going to say to Shmuel, even though I love him, get away from me. I'm not interested in talking to you. You come in to talk for a Jewish nation. I'm not interested to hear anything good about a Jewish nation. This is what Yirmiyah said. What?
Only Yirmiyah, he's the spokesman.
Yeah, also some other ones, but Yirmiyah was completely the opposite. והיה כי יאמרו אליך, אנה נצא. So if I shall say to them, where are we going to go? ואמרת עליהם כה אמר השם. And God said to them, says, you know where the Jewish people are supposed to go? Here's what God said. Asher lamavet, lamavet. Whoever is going to go to death, let him go to death. Ve'asher lacherev, lacherev. Whoever wants to get his sword, his neck cut off, whatever it is, got his neck cut off. Ve'asher lara'av, lara'av. Whoever wants to die of starvation, whoever deserves to die of starvation, he should die of starvation. Ve'asher lashevi, lashevi. And the last one, and whoever needs to get captured, let him get captured. This is what God says. And we're going to learn something from these 4 examples. What is it? So in Talmud Baba Batra, it's going to actually discuss this Yirmiyah, and it's going to ask the question, what do we do with Shvuim? If somebody gets captured, what is our responsibility? So Talmud Baba Batra says like this: Pidyon Shvuim mitzvah rabahi. To redeem the people who are captured is a very big mitzvah. What? How big? So it says, Amar lo Rabba le Rabba bar Mari. It says, Rava said to Rabba bar Mari, Minayin davar ze shamu chachamim shepidyon shvuim mitzvah rabahi. Why are you saying it is such a great mitzvah? How do you know? So he said it's a great mitzvah. He says, how do you know it's a great mitzvah? That tefilling is a great mitzvah. Helping an old lady across the street, that's a great mitzvah. Why did you decide Pidyon Shvuim is a great mitzvah? I mean, there's many other great mitzvahs. Why this is the great mitzvah, he calls it. Greater than all other mitzvahs that you know about. Amar lo, because it says, I learn it from Yirmiyah. He says, how do you learn it from Yirmiyah? So he says, שנאמר והיה כי יאמרו אליך אנה נצא ואמרת להם כה אמר השם. So in Yirmiyah we have 4 things that God says. Those who deserve death should go to death. Those who deserve the sword should go to the sword. Those to the hunger should die by hunger. And those who are captured should get captured. ואמר רבי יוחנן, and Rabbi Yochanan explains. What does it mean? It says, כל המאוחר בפסוק זה קשה מחברו. He says, the first one is the easiest punishment, and the last one is the hardest punishment. That's how it learns it. He says, I know Pidyon Shvuim is such a big mitzvah because all the other things are preferable to being captured. You know, there was, I think he was a British guy or an Australian guy. In the beginning of the war, if you remember, his daughter was taken in to get captured, and they interviewed him. And they told him that his daughter died. I think it was in England. And if you probably saw you saw it. And when they came over to him, they said, what is your comment? You know, your daughter just say she passed away. So he told them, I'm happy to hear it. He says, I couldn't be happier. Because just thinking of what could have they doing to her, it's better for her to be this. By the way, she wasn't killed. She's still. Later on, they found evidence that she's still alive. Wow. Yeah. But that's about it. But you can see the response. The response. It's better for her to die than to be there. That's what his response. So he explains. If just a guy is, you know, a person goes to bed, somebody goes to bed and gets a heart attack, you know, so he gets a heart attack in bed. It's bad, he's dead, you know, but it's, you know what's worse? Dying by the sword. Why dying by the sword is there? Because when you die by the sword, it's messy. You see these guys, there's blood all over the place, guts, it doesn't look nice. A person who died heart attack, at least, you know, it's, as they say, he died a peaceful death in bed. let's say it was a peaceful death. By the sword, it's not such a nice thing. So this is worse than dying regularly. רעב קשה מחרב. Hunger is worse than by the sword. זה מצטער הרבה קודם כל, because by the sword is at least quick. Maybe it's dirty, but it's quick. Hunger, it's a long process. וזה אינו מצטער. Regular death, you don't have the pain. שבי, it says, but getting captured, קשה מכולם. Is hardest of all. Why? שכולם נמצאים בו. Because everything is included. שהרי בשבי, because when you get captured, what usually happens, all of the things happens. יש רעב, they don't treat you well, you're hungry, וחרב, and then you die by the sword, ומוות, and then you're going to die anyway. Okay? So it says, that is why פדיון שבויים is the most things. And this is from Jewish law, at source number 6. It says, this is from Maimonides. We are on page 6. פדיון שבויים קודם לפרנסת עניים ולכסותם. If you have money to redeem captured people, this comes before helping the poor. ואין לך מצווה גדולה כפדיון שבויים. There's no greater mitzvah than redeeming the people who are captured. Why? שהשבוי הרי הוא בכלל הרעבים והצמאים, because he's also an ani. He's also a poor person. וערומים, and he also doesn't have clothes. And not only that, ועומד בסכנת נפשות. And his life is dependent on that Arab that is going over there and about to kill him. והמעלים עיניו מפדיונו, and somebody who says, it's unimportant. I'm not going to give money for his redeeming. הרי זה עובר על לא תאמץ לבבך. He's somebody who's not transgressing your commandments, not to make your heart strong, ולא תקפוץ ידך, do not open your hand, ועלו תעמוד אדם רעך, and he stands by when his fellow Jew gets killed, ועלו יראינו בפרך לעיניך, and he stands by when somebody is making somebody else a slave, and he lets him do it, and all these things. וביטל מצווה פתוח תפתוח את ידך לו, and he doesn't open his hand, ומצוות וחי אחיך עמך, and there's another mitzvah that your friend should live together with you, ואהבת לרעך כמוך, and you transgress on loving your fellow Jew, והצל לקוחים למוות, and another mitzvah of saving people that are going to be dead, והרבה דברים כאלו, and many other commandments. ואין לך מצווה רבה כפדיון שבויים. Therefore, there's no greater mitzvah than redeeming those who are שבויים. כל רגע, number 7, כל רגע שמאחר לפדות השבויים, and you don't do it in any, you don't push it away, you don't wait a month or a week or a day, because every second over there is life-threatening. הרי היכן שאפשר להקדים, הרי זה כאילו שדבר. So in other words, if you can take him out earlier, you're supposed to take him out the earlier time as possible, because every second over there, you're endangering his life. This is the simple example, but just let me tell you Jewish law. Jewish law doesn't go like this. For a reason, and I'm going to explain why. We're not going to go into it just because people think something over here. Just going to address it very, very short. By the way, it's a class on its own. Maybe we should have one of these classes about this, but in Jewish law, it goes like this. In the beginning, you're supposed to give any amount of money to any Jew. To say $1 million, $1 billion, it's worth the life of a Jew. You should give $1 billion. It doesn't matter much. If we have the money, we should give to save a Jewish life. Everything. There's no question about it. But throughout the history of the Jewish people, what happened was that people used to come and take Jewish people, throughout Jewish history, to take Jewish people as captives, and then they used to demand money from the Jews. And the Jews used to give all the money that they asked for. Throughout Eastern Europe, it used to happen all the time. Probably you heard the stories. Yeah? And what started happening, it became an incentive for the people to doing it more and more. Yeah? So there was a ruling, there came a ruling at one time, and this is even before Europe. It was in the time of Babel. It started. So the rabbis came with his head, you're not allowed to redeem anyone above market price. So in other words, if somebody is a slave, and a slave goes on the market for this and this much, this is how much you're allowed to spend and no more. That's it. You're not allowed to spend more. Why? Because otherwise you're giving an incentive to the people to take Jews. And even that, there was a special, a famous, you might know the story, a famous case of a rabbi called the Maharam Mirottenburg. The Maharam Mirottenburg was captured by the non-Jews, whoever was there in power, and he put him in jail. And he was in jail for a long time. And the community came together, they asked for a lot of money, and it took them years to collect the money. And as they collected the money, he sent them a message that he will not go out of jail if they give the money. He says, I'm going to stay over here. Why? Because if I'm going to go out of jail because you gave the money, you know what you just caused? Millions or hundreds and thousands of other rabbis, I'm going to cause them to get captured because it's a lucrative business. Everybody sees it's to make money. And he didn't go out. He stayed he stayed in jail and he died in jail. Not only that, the governor didn't even take his body out. For years, he didn't let his body out. And years later, a rich Jew came and he told the congregation, I'm willing to pay the money to the thing, to just take his body out, to the governor, as long as you bury me next to him. And until today, if you're going to go to the Maharam Mirottenburg, you're going to go to his gravesite, you're going to see his matzeva and the guy who took him out, redeemed him, right next to each other. Both of them. Probably in the 1700s. The reason it's not nice to say it, but it's the truth, so it needs to be addressed. The reason why this happened, this Simchas Torah, what happened, is a direct correlation to the Israeli policy, like Gilad Shalit. They knew Gilad Shalit is worth how many? 1,000. Gilad Shalit gave them an incentive to do this. If our policy was 1 for 1, there would have been no incentive to come and do the things. 1 for 1 I can understand, but 1 for 10,000? What does that mean? How is that even fair? Yeah, but we're not going to discuss this. We're going to start, what can we do as Jews about this? So page number 7. This is a talk from the Frierdiker Rebbe, from the previous Lubavitcher Rebbe. And this is the time when the Russian Jews were in Russia, captured. The Russian Jews were actually captors by Russia. You couldn't go out of Russia. Now, you remember it. You were not allowed. It's in 1927. It's before you remember it, but it does right. You know the situation. Yeah, you were not allowed to go out of Russia. It was a jail. There was no going out of Russia. We were captives. We had to do. So this is the Frierdiker Rebbe writing a letter. So let's read the Rebbe quickly, and then we're going to go to a Rebbe's, to how the Rebbe addresses it. Okay? So this is from the Frierdiker Rebbe, and he addresses. It says Lechaim. The Frierdiker Rebbe says Lechaim in the Fabrengen, and he says Lechayei atmimim berussia, to the life of the people who are sitting in yeshiva in Russia, to the students in Russia. Manachel, it says, what are we going to wish them? You ask a question. What should we wish all the students in Russia? And you remember at that time, a student in Russia, if you were caught, you were killed, or you were put in jail. That's what it meant to be a student in yeshiva in Russia. It says, we need to be with unity with the Jews of Russia. Frierdiker Rebbe ran away. Was exiled, let's call it. זה הרי ברור. So he says it is clear. אין שנייה שאני לא חושב עליהם. There's not one moment that I don't think about it. והם עליי. And I know, because I'm the Rebbe, I'm sure that also they thinking about me. Because אלא שהקדוש ברוך הוא יעזור שירדו כל העולמות. May God help that all the darkness will disappear. לאחר מכן ציווה הרבי לשלוח מברק למספר ערים ברוסיה. Then the Rebbe said that we should send a letter to encourage the students to many cities in Russia. שאל אותו הכותב איך לחתום. So the one who writes the letter, he says, how am I going to sign it? Well, says, what do you mean, how are you going to sign it? Because if he would have signed it, Rabbi Schneerson, yeah, the Frierdiker Rebbe, if he would sign it Schneerson, they would go straight to jail. Yeah? You cannot sign it Schneerson. Just getting a letter from Schneerson is a good enough reason for you to go to jail. So he says, what should I say it? אמר הרבי, באם נחתום את שמי, זאת תהיה רחמנות עליהם. It says, if you're going to sign my name, mercy upon them. מי שיקבל מברק מהרב שניארסון יטופל בחומרה עד השולחנות. Anybody who gets a letter from me, you know what's going to happen to him. אלא תכתוב רודסטבניק. רודסטבניק, that's how you say it in Russian? קרוב משפחה. How do you say in Russian? Yeah. רוסטניק. רוסטניק. Yeah. אלא כתוב, say קרוב משפחה, רוסטנביק. רוסטנביק. והמשיך הרבי לומר, and the Rabbi continued to say, החסידים הם אחים שלי. It says, the Hasidim are my brothers. ותמימים הם ממש אחים מאב אחד ואמא אחת. And anybody who learns in our yeshivas, it says they're completely the same brother, not just family. They're really a brother, like we came from the same mother and father. Okay. In source number 1, in Talmud Bavli, we're going to see exile and captives. What does the Torah, what does the Gemara look at people who are in exile? How does he look at the situation of exile at all, of people in exile? So it says, exile is just being captive, just by the way. Amar Rabbi Yoshaya says, מה שכתוב, it says, what is the meaning? צדקת פרזונו בישראל. There's a saying that it says, the righteous acts of restoring open cities. Yeah, like, let me explain. It says, there are some cities that are have a wall around them that needs to protect. Yeah, and there are some cities that they are so strong and so safe that they can lay empty. פרוזות. Yeah, פרוזות תשב ירושלים. Like it says, פרוזות תשב ירושלים. What does it mean, פרוזות תשב ירושלים? ירושלים would sit פרוזות without a wall. Yeah, it means it doesn't need a wall. You're so safe on the lane, it doesn't even hold. So this is the simple explanation of this word, of this sentence. צדקת פרזונו בישראל. This is the simple explanation. You should make the cities in Israel open cities that you're not going to be worried. You don't need, what do you call it? The thing with the missiles. The Iron Dome. You don't need the Iron Dome to protect us. We're safe. We don't need all this trouble. Yeah, you can live right next to the border with Syria, with Lebanon. Nobody is worried. Everybody is going around and saying hi to each other. Like from New Jersey to New York. You say hi to each other. That's the way it's supposed to be. That's a simple explanation. But the Gemara learns it different. Let's see how the Gemara, it says, tzedakah, look how it says it. It takes the word pirzono, yeah, and it changes the letters, and it says something else. It says, tzedakah asa kadosh baruch hu. It says, God did something nice to us. What nice thing did God do to us? שפזרן לבית האומות, that he spread us, that he exiled us from the land, and what? He spread us around everywhere in the world. He said, thank you, God. It says, God is nice to us. It says, this is called God nice. We were all one nation, living nicely on the land of Israel, and all of a sudden it says, God did us charity, that he took us, and he spread us all over the place. That's called nice. So let's understand. Rashi explains. Says, what's the charity? What's the tzedakah? What's the righteousness? Tzedakah asa shepizran. It says, what's the righteousness? Because if they would have left in land of Israel, Alexander could have came. Alexander could have decided, you know what? The hell with you. Everybody's gone. And there's nowhere to run to. That's it. You're all in the land of Israel. There's nowhere to run. Yeah? שלא היו יכולים לחלוטן יחד. It says now that we are spread all over the place and we saw it in Jewish history, the Jews were in, by the way, there were times that 90% of the Jews were, you know where? In Spain. All of them, all the Jews were in Spain. All Judaism was in Spain. And in another time, all the other Jews were in Poland. You know, big Poland was, people don't understand, Poland was Jewish. The entire country was Jewish. It was a Jewish country. Yeah, it was a Jewish country. Yeah, the whole thing was Jewish. Everybody was Jewish. The entire cities were Jewish. Everything was Jewish over there. What happened? They were starting to kill Jews, being not nice to them. So people migrated from Poland to Russia, from Poland to East, to the West, to the East, to America, to everywhere, to Australia, whatever else. So this is what Rashi says. This is the charity. We can run away. So the Rebbe now comes and tries to bring all this concept together and tries to tell us how we have to behave. Page number 8. So this is the Rebbe. It says like this. ומבאר כבוד קבוצת מורי וחמי אדמו"ר במאמרו דיבורו מתחיל זה. It says this is a mimer that the Frierdiker Rebbe we mentioned before. This is the time that he was talking about the yeshiva Bachurim in Russia. It was said in New Test Kislev, by the way. שעל ידי שישראל מפוזרים בכמה מדינות, it says that the fact that the Jews are spread all over many countries, הנה גם כשבינה אחת דוחקים ולוחצים לישראל, when it's one country we get stressed, ואין נותנים להם ללמוד, they don't let us learn, for example Russia, you cannot open schools, learn Torah, לקיים מצוות, you cannot do commandments, ועד שבכמה מצוות הם אנוסים ממש. It says, and there are times that they really cannot do mitzvahs. They really cannot do any commandments. It's not like it's hard to do commandments. See, learning Torah in Russia, you could. You might die for it, but you could. But if you wanted to shake a lulav and etrog in Russia, good luck. Etrogim don't go in Russia. You need to bring it from a word of There are no etrogim. And if they find you bring an etrog into Russia, it's a death penalty. You cannot do it. Even if you wanted you can't. Just like who? Just like a captive. A captive, you see, we have an option to do a mitzvah or not to do a mitzvah. Sometimes it's harder, sometimes it's less hard. Yeah, sometimes you need to even give your life away for it. Yeah, but you have an option. A captive doesn't have an option. He cannot do a mitzvah even if he wants to. Yeah, all those people who are captives, can they shake the lulav and etrog? They can't. אין להם אפשרות כלל לקיים אותם, אפילו על ידי מסירות נפש. They can't even do it, even if they're willing to endanger themselves. In Russia, they learn Torah. They endanger their life by learning Torah. Yeah? In jail, in the captives, even if they want to open a Gemara, they can't open a Gemara. They can't learn. ולדוגמה, כשיש גזירת מלכות שלא יכניס למדינה ד' מינים, שאז גם על ידי מסירות נפש אי אפשר לקיימה. Since we don't have the etrog in the country, there's no way to do the mitzvah. הנה, so here comes the first rule. What can we do for the captives? Here comes the first rule. הנה, על ידי שישראל הנמצאים בשאר המדינות עוסקים בתורה ומצוות, he says, they are captives in Russia. Listen to how the Rebbe says it. There are people who are in Russia who are captives, who cannot do commandments, nor can they learn Torah. You know what we can do? We are in other countries where we can. God did charity. What's the charity? The charity is that we can learn Torah and we can do mitzvahs when we do commandments when we're down here. הם נותנים כוח ועוז גם לאלו הנמצאים במקום שיש שם גזרות. We give, we encourage, we give power, we change their world by doing something in ours. It's not like we do that feeling for them, but we encourage that they will one day will be able to put on tefillin. That what? שיוכלו ללמוד תורה ולקיים מצוות. So the more Torah and mitzvahs that we do, the quicker they will be able to do Torah and mitzvahs. This is the first rule. So you ask, what can we do for the captives? The captives can't put on tefillin. They can't. They can't put on tefillin. We can put tefillin every day. Yeah? So by us putting on tefillin every day, if we don't do it yet, we encourage that they will be able to put tefillin on in the morning also. by us doing it, we can. That's the first rule that the Rebbe says. Now, where does the Rebbe get it from? We're going to see soon. And he continues, ומן הקל אל הכבד. And it says, from the easy to the heavy. בתחילה שיוכלו לקיים את המצוות במסירות נפש. In the beginning, the people in Russia, first of all, they will be able to do it at least במסירות נפש. Maybe it's dangerous, but at least they'll be able to do it. In other words, there will be a couple of etrogim in every city. And if they get caught, but at least there's a possibility for them to do it. Maybe if you get caught, you die, but still, there's a possibility. וכידוע, like it says, שיש דעה בפסקים שגם במצוות שלא אמרו, יעבור ועל ירק רשאי לקדש שם מצוות. I don't want to get into this different class, but there's a question if you're allowed to give your life away for any commandment. For example, are you allowed to endanger your life in order to shake a lulav and etrog? Yeah? So there's, the Rambam, for example, says you're not allowed to. You're not allowed to. Yeah? But many other commentaries, and to halacha, it says, it's okay. It's okay to endanger one's lives just to do a mitzvah. Even though it's not one of those. Like for example, lulav and etrog. One is allowed to endanger your life. This is the brackets, we're not going to discuss it now. ועד שאחר כך לא יצטרכו למסירות נפש כלל. It says, until later they won't even need מסירות נפש at all. They don't, it will become easy. ועד שלא יהיו להם ניסיונות ואפילו לא מתווכחים. And until it's going to be so easy for them that nothing is going to stop them from doing it. כי יצאו לחירות, they're going to go out of Russia to freedom, ויוכלו לעסוק בתורה ומצוות מתוך הרחבה. And they'll be able to do Torah and mitzvahs just like in America. כמאמר רבותינו זיכרונם לברכה, כל המקיים את התורה מעוני יוסף לו גם מעושר. Just like it says that if you keep the Torah from poorness, in the end you'll be able to keep it out of richness. And the Rebbe continues, and he says, והנה כיוון שהתורה היא נצחית בכל עת וזמן ובכל מקום. So he says, since the Torah is eternal, and it comes to every place and every time, מובן שצדקה זו היא גם במקומות שאין גזרות על תורה ומצוות. He says, okay, very nice. But let's go 5 years ago, all over the world. Was there any place in the world 5 years ago you couldn't put on tefillin? No. Any place in the world you wanted to put on tefillin, you're allowed to put on tefillin. Any place in the world you want to learn Torah, you can learn Torah. It says, and what, the Torah doesn't discuss these places? So when the Torah gives this halacha that we just said that you're allowed to give your life for this, it means that it's talking about also our time. In America, in Tucson, it's talking about us. So how is it discussing us? ויובן זה על פי מה שכתוב כבוד קדושת מורי וחמי אדמו"ר בעניין מצוות פדיון שבויים. So he says, this is what it's saying, to redeem the captured. שישנה גם ברוחניות. You see, there are people who are captured. You know who's the people who are captured? Each and every one of us. All of us is captured. Says, who caught you? Who's the Hamas in your life? Moshe, who's your Hamas? Yetzer Hara is Hamas. Right? Each and every one is captured by our evil inclination. Each and every one of us. שכמו שהשבוי בגשמיות היושב במאסר, just like those people who sit in Gaza, אינו יכול לצאת משם, they cannot escape over there. על דרך זהו גם ברוחניות, also it is us, spiritually, שלפעמים העדי שבוי רחמנא ליצלן בידי יצרו. Sometimes we are captured by our own Hamas, our evil inclination. Everyone knows his own. I don't need to tell you. ועל דרך בעלי עסקים, הטרודים ומטרידים ביותר בדעות עסקיהם. For example, a person, all his head is where? Is in business. He says, I don't have time to what? To think about Torah and mitzvahs right now. Let me be, I've got things on my mind. I've got the wife, I've got the children, I've got the business. I think I have time for Torah and mitzvahs. I don't have time for him. He's completely captured by his evil, by his inclination. Shem kshurim. He says, you can't talk to them. The guy doesn't even understand what you want from him. He says, what are you talking about? Come to class. I need to make more money. What does it even mean going to class? He doesn't even understand what you're talking to him. Yeah? שהם קשורים, שבויים במחשבות המבלבלות. They've got the inclination, give them ideas in their head, and it captured them. ואינם יכולים לצאת מהם. And you see, They can't even come out of their mindset. The mindset caught them to such a degree, they can't come out of it. ועד שלפעמים הוא כמו אנוס. Until even in halachic, the guy says, forget about him, don't even tell him. Don't even tell him. It's just like he's forced into it right now. It's not even, you know, sometimes we expect out of people things that, you know, there's no way he's going to do that. And this is what the Rambam says by halacha. Sometimes sheyitzro nokfo, sometimes when the Yetzer Hara talks to a person, it says it's too late. You let him do whatever it is, later on you talk to him again. Right now it's not the time, he doesn't even listen to you. וזהו עניין הצדקה, and now we're going to go back to the tzedakah that we discussed before. To the righteousness that God did, שפיזרן. What does it mean פיזרן? על ידי שפיזרן לבין האומות, גם בנוגע למקומות הרווחה. Just like God spread the Jewish people to many countries, כאשר מישהו בישראל שבוי בידי יצרו רחמנא ליצלן, you see, not every one of us is captured by the same Hamas. Some person is captured for this, some people is captured on that. Everyone is in different country. Everybody is in a different country, and everybody is not necessarily captured by the same enemies of the other guy. Everybody has a different inclination. Some people don't mind this, some people mind that. So יצאתו מהשביעה, it says so. A person who you see is captured by Hamas, spiritual Hamas. So he says, how is he going to get out? We just says, he's not even interested in going out. He's happy there. He doesn't understand what you're talking to him. So you know how he's going to get out? By you, by us, who don't have that Hamas in them, or have a different Hamas, emphasizing that point. If he doesn't come to class, for example, if those people don't come to class, and we make sure we're going to come to class more and more, you're going to see something very interesting. This is what he's going to say. It's indirectly going to affect him to want to come to class. And all the things that you are captured by Hamas, if he's going to be insistent on doing them, that you are captured by your Hamas, if the other guy is going to be insistent in doing them, then he's going to help you getting out of your Hamas. Says, why should we? How does that work? What's the idea? It says, לא בכוח עצמו, כיוון שאין חבוש מתיר עצמו. It says, a person is not going to be able to go out of his own Hamas by his own power, because he doesn't have the power. His evil inclination is too strong. He needs the encouragement from outside. על ידי יהודי שאינו נתון בשבייה בנוגע לעניין זה. He needs the Jew that is not captured by this matter. והיינו, that means, דגם כאשר גם הפודה אותו מהשבייה הוא שבוי בידי יצרו, ועד שהוא כמו אנוס, בנוגע למצווה אחרת, even though each one is a different commandment that captures him, מכל מקום, כיוון שבנוגע לכמה וכמה מצוות אינו שבוי בידי יצרו, nevertheless, even if you are captured by some commandments, by everybody there are some commandments that you like, that is easy for you, that you enjoy. Some people, you tell them to come to study, they can't do it. Says, I can't study, Rabbi, forget about it. So, but you tell them, give charity? Says, charity, I love giving. I love helping. I love doing this. They're into that. Yeah? So, and there's some people who come to study every day, but to give charity, it pains them. To take a quarter out of the pocket is like great pain for them. You know, they can't do that. So each one can help the other one, for example. כי התנגדות היצר הרע אצל כל אחד היא בעיקר בעניין אחר. As we're going to see, the evil inclination by people is usually in different aspects. We're on page 10, second paragraph. שכמו בכל זמן יש עבודה מיוחדת שברת לזמן זה, just like every day has its own work. Shabbos, one is supposed to do Shabbos work. Sunday, one is supposed to do Sunday work. When you're with your wife, you're supposed to do wife work. When you're with your child, you're supposed to do child work, and so on and so forth. ועיקר הפיתויים וההתנגדות של היצר הרע הם למנוע עבודה זו. What does the evil inclination wants you to do? Usually the evil inclination wants you to do the most important thing that you need to do, he wants you not to do. שלכן הניסיונות שבדור אחד שונים מהניסיונות בדורות אחרים. And now we're going to learn something else. The trials of one generation are completely different than trials of another generation. What does it mean? וכמו בזמנו של מנשה. Imagine the time of Menashe, the king. There was a king Menashe. Yeah? שאז היה שולט היצר של עבודה זרה. It says, at his generation, the generation of Menashe, people had a crazy evil inclination for idol worship. They were religious people, 100% religious, and the idol worship called them. You couldn't get away. People would run to do idol worship. Big rabbis. They couldn't help themselves. It had power. It was powerful. That's right. They fold up the kapota and run to the evil inclination. They couldn't. So today, do people have an evil inclination to do idol worship? Nobody does. And nobody cares about no religion. Yeah, no religion. מה שאין כן בדורות שלאחריו, על אחת כמה וכמה, אחרי שקטלו יצרות הזרה. It says, after, it says that King Solomon killed the evil inclination, the power of the evil inclination to such an extent that people don't have it anymore, especially in our generation. People are not so into evil inclination, into idol worship. על דרך זה הוא גם בזמן אחד גופה. And listen to the interesting part. Not only it goes in the same generation that you can affect another person, you can affect another person in a different generation. In other words, if we don't run to do idol worship now, it affects all the souls of those people who lived at the time of Menashe. It goes retrospectively. They do things for us, what we have evil inclination for, and we can do things for them. שכל אחד מישראל, והדרך זה הוא גם בזמן אחד גופה, שלכל אחד מישראל יש עניין מיוחד. Also in our time, each Jew has its own aspect. מצווה או מנהג וכיוצא בזה. Each Jew is come down to the wrong that he has one specific commandment that is his commandment. שנוגע אליו ביותר, כידוע בבאר רבותינו זיכרונם לברכה, אביך במה היה זהיר יותר. The Gemara says that your father, what was he more careful? Which mitzvah was he careful for? What do you mean? My father was a religious person. He was careful in every mitzvah. He says, no. It can't be. Every person has his own mitzvah. The mitzvah that belongs to him. This is his. In other words, and how do you know which one is yours? Exactly the opposite. The one that you don't like. The one that is hardest for you to do, this is your mitzvah. The one that you rather do any other mitzvah except that mitzvah, that is the mitzvah you need to do. Yeah? So for me, I won't talk about me. ועיקר הפיתויים וההתנגדות של יצר הרע שלו הם מנוגע לעניין זה. In other words, the evil inclination is going to put all the difficulties into that mitzvah. Just like what? Just like Adam HaRishon. Adam HaRishon had one commandment, and what did the evil inclination do? He put all his energy for him to eat from the fruit. ועל ידי שמקייב את המצוות שאין יצרו לוחם כנגדם כל כך. So, even by yourself, you realize that one mitzvah is very, very hard for you, all the other mitzvahs are easy for you. How can you redeem yourself? Do you know how you can redeem yourself? Do the mitzvahs that are not so hard. The more mitzvahs you do around it, it's going to encourage it to come out. Very good. You collecting victories. The more victories you can, and we're going to discuss this also soon. הוא פודה מהשביעה את זה שיצרות תקפו במצוות אלו. וזהו, and now we're going to get, this is the charity that God did. He spread it around. He spread all the evil inclination around. In other words, he didn't put all the evil inclination in one place, like he did with whom? Like he did with Adam HaRishon. By Adam HaRishon, everything was collected into one mitzvah. All the commandments. You know by us how he did it? He spread it into 613 commandments. Yeah? And if you weaken one of them, if you strengthen the other one, it's going to encourage, it's going to give help to this one. But when you give it in one, if you fail that one, that's it. That's why he brought death into the world. Yeah, that's right. וזהו צדקה עשה הקדוש ברוך הוא בישראל. This is the charity that God did with Jewish people. שפיזרן לבית האמות, he spread us all around. שפדיון שבויים הוא הצדקה הכי נעלית. And we say that we have to redeem the ones who are captured. So we are captured by our own evil inclination. There are some commandments by each and every one of us that is captured by our evil inclination. וכמבואר במאמר שהם במצוות צדקה פדויים שבויים, and the mitzvah of charity, you can take the שבויים out, you can take the captured out, הוא קודם לכל דבר. It says, this comes, so the more you give from yourself, money, time, whatever, even if it is in other commandments, it is going to redeem the evil inclination of that commandment. ואין מצווה גדולה כפדיון שבויים, ועל ידי שפיזרן לבית האומות, שיצרו של אחד שני מצרו של השני. So it works within ourselves, it works within our community, it works within the entire world, and it works throughout the generations. All these concepts. Yeah? One generation can redeem another generation. Let's continue. Now, this is a very nice saying. We're going to see, if he's not going to talk about it, I'm going to talk, where do we see this? But let's look at the Rebbe. והנה עניין הנ"ל, and this is, שהעסק בתורה ומצוות של אחד נותן כוח ועוז גם לשני. That right now, those who are captured in Gaza don't have the possibility to learn Torah. Don't have a possibility to come to a class. By us coming here to a class, we start to give them the possibility to do it. הוא לא רק שהאונס בנוגע לאיזו מצווה הוא מפני גזירת המלכות. It's not only because, like in Russia, where the government doesn't let you, או מפני שיצרו הוא שתקפו, or by us, because our evil inclination doesn't let us. אלא גם כשהאונס הוא מפני שעל פי תורה, אי אפשר לקיים מצווה זו. Sometimes it is because you can't do the commandment. It is impossible for you to do the commandment. For example, your wife cannot put on tefillin. She cannot do the mitzvah of tefillin. But by you putting on tefillin, you know what it does? It transfers over to her. A Kohen has commandments that in Israel cannot do. Yeah? But when a Kohen does his commandment, yeah, the entire Jewish people are doing the same commandment. It's not just, yes? Oh, because we are one. Very good. We're going to bring this topic. וכמו ישראל הנמצאים בחוץ לארץ, just like the Jewish people who are out of the Jewish land, שעל פי תורה אי אפשר לקיים את המצוות תלויות בארץ. They cannot do עורלה, they cannot do all the commandments that has to do with פאה, with ביקורים. They don't have all these commandments. הנה מצד זה שכל ישראל שכל מציאות אחת. What's the idea? The entire Jewish people in the same generation, or throughout generations, are one body. And here comes the kick. הרי על ידי זה שבני ישראל הנמצאים בארץ ישראל מקיים את המצוות התלויות בארץ. When the Jewish people who live in Israel do the commandments that can be done in Israel, זה מועיל גם עבור בני ישראל הנמצאים בחוץ לארץ. It helps the people who are out of the land. They keep the mitzvahs of the land that you cannot keep. They have an effect on you. Think about it like this. In this aspect. You know when you have a sick person? So sometimes when you have a sick person, the kidneys don't work good, the liver doesn't work good, the heart doesn't work good, and nothing works good. And you come to the doctor and the doctor says, you know, I don't even know what to operate on first. I'll touch this one will break. I'll touch that one will break. You know, whatever I'm going to try to do, it says. But sometimes that's not the situation. Sometimes the situation is the kidneys don't work good. But everything else works perfectly. And when this kind of person comes to the doctor says, with this we don't have to worry about. You know why? Because the body around is healthy. And when the body around is healthy, don't worry. The body around those kidneys, in the end, is going to come and take care of the kidneys. Yeah? So the same things, it works with commandments. Even though we have one commandment that we're very bad in, we don't have the power, the evil inclination takes us. It says, yeah, don't worry about it. You know what you have to do? Get all the commandments that you're good at, become better and better and better in those commandments, and slowly, slowly, it will start to affect what? The entire body. That works within your body, that works within the Jewish nation. The more Torah and mitzvahs that we keep as individuals, the people around us slowly, slowly will be healed also. They will also start to keep Torah and mitzvahs more and more. Because we are all one body. And when one part of the body gets healthier, the entire body gets healthier. It's not just when there's a problem with the heart, because the heart doesn't go good, the entire body gets sick. Once the heart is healthy, all of a sudden you thought that the entire body is gone. No, the entire body is alive. It just needed the healthy heart. So one commandment is going to if we improve in one commandment, it has the possibility to make the entire Jewish nation, and not just the Jewish nation, the entire world come into the right place. Let's just finish this. והדרך זה בכללות זמן הגלות, שאי אפשר גם לבני ישראל נמצאים בארץ ישראל, לקיים מצוות התלויות בזמן שבית המקדש היה קיים. So even now in Eretz Israel, even the Jewish people cannot do the commandments as the time of the temple. הנה מצד זה שכל ישראל שבכל הזמנים מציאות אחת, but because the entire Jewish people throughout the ages are considered to be one body, הנה המצוות התלויות בזמן הבית שקיימו ישראל אז, they already kept the commandments of the temple. מועילים גם לבני ישראל שבזמן הגלות. They are healing us today in our generation. That's already healed. They give us the power, the encouragement. כיוון שכל ישראל שבמשך כל הדורות הם ציבור אחד, because we are just like one congregation. So, what can we take from it? So the Rebbe ended this, specifically we should do something to say, coming to classes, I understand sometimes it's hard for some people, but there's something that everybody can do and it's easy. So let's read what it is. Source number 10. בתקופה זו, at this time, specifically this time that we are right now, זקוק כל בית יהודי באופן מיוחד לשמירה. Every Jewish house needs protection. השמירה האמיתית היא ככתוב, אשר ישמור עיר. And who is the one who's going to guard us? God is the one who's supposed to guard us. נוסף לכך נתן הקדוש ברוך הוא סגולה מיוחדת לשמירת הבית, and God gave us a specific instrument to guard our house, והיא מצוות מזוזה. It's the commandment of mezuzah. יש גם לזכור, we also have to remember, שמאחר שכל בני ישראל הם קומה אחת, as we said, the entire Jewish people are one body, והם ערבים זה בזה. What does it mean one body? That you affect each other to good or to bad. Every commandment that we do, we increase the strength of the Jewish nation, and every sin that we do, we decrease the strength of the Jewish nation. We are responsible for one another. This is what it means. A Jew is responsible to one another. מהווה מזוזה שמירה אלוקית. So now the people in Gaza don't have a mezuzah on their house. It's prison. They don't have a mezuzah over there. מהווה מזוזה שמירה אלוקית לא רק לבית ולכל אשר בתוכו. So if we make sure that if everyone has a mezuzah everywhere that we're supposed to do, it's not just protection to our house, אלא שכל מזורה כשרה נוספת אי שם בדלת יהודית, that doesn't matter who puts a kosher mezuzah anywhere in the world today, מחזקת את ביטחונם של כל בני ישראל. That is going to give a strength to the protection of the entire Jewish people. Not just your house, for every Jew, בכל מקום שהם, in any place that they are, especially the ones that need the protection now in Gaza. ובהתחשב בעובדה, here's the Rebbe is talking to women, so he says, בהתחשב בעובדה שכל אישה יהודית יקר את הבית, every Jewish woman is considered to be the mainstay of the house, וכל בת ישראל יקר את הבית בעתיד, and every Jewish girl is going to be a mainstay of the house, יש להם זכות מיוחדת בעניין המזוזה. Also, women have to be careful when it comes to the mitzvah of mezuzah. What is this? להשתדל שתהיה מזוזה כשרה. First of all, if you didn't check your mezuzah for a long time, maybe it's a time to check the mezuzahs. And second of all, you have to try to make sure that you have a kosher mezuzah on your house, לא רק בביתו, בכל פתח חייו, but not only in your house, and not only on the front door. One should have a mezuzah on every door in the house. אלא try to go and see that if you have a friend who doesn't have a mezuzah, or even if he does have a mezuzah, the last time he checked it was 1968, maybe you should check it by now, maybe you should encourage him to check it right now. אלא גם בבתי שכניהם ומכיריהם בכל בית ישראל. Or he only has one mezuzah on the front door. Maybe if you can encourage him in a nice way, obviously, to put mezuzahs all over the house, that's going to increase the protection of the people in that house, and automatically it will increase the protection for those who are in Gaza.